Let's now have a listen to Douglas Murray, who's speaking about this, where he was talking about a tactic that's being used by Israel, which is to basically hack some Iranian apps. Have a watch of this. This is fascinating.
From the Wall Street Journal tonight, that Israel has managed to hack a popular Iranian prayer app, and it is sending messages telling members of the Revolutionary Guard to leave and liberate the country. What do you make of that?
First of all, it's a tactic that the Israelis have used elsewhere. They've used it in Gaza. They've used it against Hezbollah in Lebanon. So it's a familiar tactic. The message itself is simply reiterating what President Trump said in his late night message, which is to request that the Revolutionary Guards, the Basij and others put down their weapons. And in Trump's language, he said last night, now is the time to do that. Otherwise, there's another route further down the road.
So let's talk about the otherwise. What are the implications in the days, weeks, or longer ahead for America, Iran, the world?
Well, the first thing is, of course, you mentioned at the beginning how historic this is. Since 1979, the Iranian revolutionary government has, first of all, been repressing, of course, the Iranian people. It's been colonizing the entire region. It's been colonizing Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen. And, of course, it's been the world's foremost sponsor of terror. So the fact that that regime seems to have been certainly decapitated and seems now to be tottering means, first of all, that we will very likely see a very different Middle East. But there's a secondary thing, which is, of course, and President Trump did refer to this a bit in his remarks, perhaps not enough in my view, was that don't forget that the terrorism that this regime has been spreading has not been limited to the Middle East. The regime spread terror to South America. It's tried to carry out assassinations here in New York of dissidents. It tried only a couple of years ago to kill a former American Secretary of State and a former National Security Advisor in Washington, D.C. So the fact that that foremost sponsor of terror is now seemingly on its last legs is something that's going to have huge implications way beyond the Middle East.
All of what you said has been true, though, for a while now. So why right now? Was it just the moment presented itself?
It seems to me that the moment presented itself. If you consider the difference between what's happened in the last 24 hours and what happened last summer it was very clear that in the 12-day war, that decapitation of the regime, specifically the targeting of the Ayatollah, was not on the table. That seemed to be the one thing that was absolutely not on the table. Taking out the nuclear sites was the main objective then, but not regime decapitation. Something has changed in the last year. Possibly it's simply President Trump's realization of the intractable nature of the Iranian revolutionary government in negotiations. They have strung on negotiating team after negotiating team from the West, from the international community for decades on every one of these issues.
Douglas, thank you very much. There's report.
Douglas always completely on point about this, and it is, as he said, they've had all kinds of tactics they've been using for a while. Iran has it's been a hopeless game of trying to negotiate with them, because you cannot negotiate, you cannot appease ideologies that are fundamentally, inherently wanting your destruction. This has been the same issue with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They don't want a two-state solution. So you're talking to a brick wall ultimately. And they'll say they do for Western cameras, but they don't want it really, because the whole Palestinian cause is about destroying Israel and the Jews, which is what the Iranian regime is about. It's also about destroying the West. It's about Islamic domination of the region and the world. If you don't understand that, well, you're too politically correct. We should stop being politically correct and just start being correct. And this is the channel where we're going to continue to be correct, I hope. And I say that with humility, but unfortunately, it seems to me over the past few years, there are far too many people who care more about optics of being seen to be politically correct, as opposed to just saying the truth that needs to be said, the uncomfortable truth that too many people in the world want to bury their heads in the sand and ignore. So if you want to help this channel to grow, and there's much more we're going to be talking about in this live, but just to pause for a second and say, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel. It really, really helps us. Please hit the like button. Please comment. Please hype our videos. All these things really help us to grow, get this channel growing, get us more in the algorithm and able to continue to deliver the videos, which I hope you already appreciate and enjoy. Now, the Ayatollahs are, of course, going completely insane. No longer the Ayatollah, but the leaders of Iran and the IRGC. They're going completely mad in their desperation, which, of course, as Elon said, their aim is, by hitting all these Arab countries, is to trying to encourage them to go to the West and say, hey, stop this. But this might actually lead to the opposite. It might actually lead to further pressure on them, because the Arab countries are saying, it's like Saudi Arabia, for example, have said, if you attack us anymore, we are going to launch a strong retaliatory strike against you. But here's an apartment building in Bahrain, is random Bahrain apartment that was hit, which shows just how they are complete death cult worshippers. I mean, just randomly hitting apartments. The whole thing is disgusting. We also learned that air supremacy has been achieved by Israel. Israeli Defense Minister Katz says IDF fighter jets are dominating Tehran's airspace, gearing up for sustained strikes on Iranian regime targets, with a continuous stream of aircraft set to hit military sites across the capital. This is Iranian fighter jets destroyed on the ground. We've seen footage of that occurring here. Clearly, the level of precision, level of intelligence that the Israeli and American forces have been remarkable. Andrew Neil of the Daily Mail, very distinguished journalist in the UK, has noted that there's been a pivotal role played by the CIA in Khomeini's assassination. The US spooks tracked the Ayatollah for months, gaining more confidence about his location and his movements. A key development was that they learned that a meeting of top Iranian officials would take place on Saturday morning at a leadership compound in the heart of Tehran, and the supreme leader would be at the site. Intel was passed to Israel. Jets were dispatched to bomb the site. That is remarkable stuff. And the alliance, by the way, between America and Israel, the Trump-Bibi alliance, is one for the ages. This is one for the books. This is, I mean, it's historic. This level of cooperation, it truly is Esau and Israel coming together, uniting in a way that they were destined to do from the beginning of biblical history. And now with Trump and Netanyahu at the helm, it really is happening. Working together, Trump and Bibi, Edom, Rome, and because America really is the extension of the Roman world, Roman exile of today, and Israel, Esau and Yaakov and Jacob, Esau and Israel together working to destroy evil in this world. Really amazing stuff. Israel also just shifted the nature of the operation. They're now systematically destroying Iran's riot control infrastructure as well. The units that crushed protests. Every Iranian who was beaten, shot, or imprisoned by these forces is watching their tremendous headquarters get bombed today. Think about the redemptive aspect of this as well. A strategic pivot from decapitation to liberation. Iran now being one signal away from revolution. Now, Iran are, again, part of their just utter desperation and death cult nature. They're now hitting, they've sent 2 missiles towards Cyprus, where thousands of British troops are stationed. They're going completely insane. I want to show you this also. This is a really, really important tweet, just to get an update of how mental they're going. Cyprus, 2 missiles. Oman, 3 drones. Bahrain, 45 missiles and 9 drones. Iraq, 7 missiles and drone volleys reported from Erbil. Dozens of drones, 9 intercepted. Israel, 200 missiles and 12 plus drones. Jordan, 13 missiles and 36 drones approximately. Kuwait, multiple missiles, 2 drones. Qatar, 66 missiles. Saudi Arabia, 0 to 2 plus missiles or drones. Syria, 1 missile. UAE, 140 missiles, 270 drones. Total barrages, 465 missiles, 357 drones, 824 total projectiles. And what we're seeing here is just their desire to basically get Armageddon. That's what they're about, but they clearly do not have the coordinated strength to be able to achieve what they want. So much so they even hit their own ship. Look at this. The Skylight tanker struck by Iran is under US sanctions, designated on December 18, 2025 as part of a crackdown on Tehran's oil smuggling shadow fleet. This is what one Iranian ballistic missile did in Tel Aviv, and that's what Elon said. He said, this is why we won't let it build thousands. If you in any way can't understand what Israel's doing or what America's doing, then just look at this photo and it should tell you all you need to know. We're learning more also from the pace of missile production by the Iranian regime that Israel's telling us about what they have been trying to do. Look at this. That's production rate of 100 missiles per month, 3,000 surface-to-surface missiles. That was launch of Operation Rising Lion. Then end of Operation Rising Lion. This was back in last summer. it went a lot lower, right? But then they tried to restore a lot more. So this is without launching Operation Rising Line, that's where they'd be at. But since then, this is what they're doing now. And of course, they've invested huge efforts to re-establish the missile production capability. And that is an existential threat to Israel as well. And so therefore, what Israel's doing and what America's doing is really necessary. The Iranian regime's plan for the destruction of Israel. Currently, the regime produces dozens of ballistic missiles per month with a clear acceleration in its recovery pace, an attempt to produce 8,000 missiles by 2027. In addition, the regime is investing significant efforts in fortifying its underground production infrastructure. The possession of missiles by a regime that has declared its intent to destroy Israel constitutes an existential threat. So Israel has every duty, not just right, a duty to do this. Let's have a listen to now the wokies, who would say, we can't escalate if we do. What, you just fell out of a coconut tree? We have to calm things down. If this woman was in charge of the Western world, the leader of the free world right now, just think where we would be. It is alarming to think where we would be if Kamala was in charge right now, because there is this woke mind virus in the West that basically equates any form of military action as wrong, as evil, as something that's only going to cause more chaos, more division, more evil. What about, let me just zoom out for a second and try and explain it to people who may be a little bit morally unclear about all of this. Do you believe in making the world better? Yes or no? Do you believe right now the world could be better? I'm sure, in particular, the progressive side will say, yes, absolutely, we want progress. Okay, so if you think I want to make this world better, I want to remove the bad or fix the evil and make it better, make it good, you believe in war. You believe in going to war against the bad. Now, military war, there's all kinds of war. Trying to improve the world is a form of warfare. It's not pacifism. Pacifism says, I'm just going to let the world be and leave it as it is. If you believe in making it better, you believe in going to war. The military type of war is just where it has to descend into physical battle because you're left with no other choice. And to say that that's never acceptable, well, then you believe in not making this world better. You believe in letting evil run riot. And I'm sorry, but in this case, it is so clearly warranted and necessary that if you can't see it, well, you must be Kamala Harris. Let's have a listen to her words.
Before I go in, I want to address what we learned today. Donald Trump has dragged us into a war the American people do not want. He has put American troops in harm's way. I unequivocally oppose this war of choice, and everyone should. And the bottom line, when it comes down to it, is that if we want to stop Donald Trump with this random decision that he has arrived at, then Congress must act, and Congress must act immediately. The American people do not want our sons and daughters to go into this unauthorized war of choice, and I unequivocally oppose it. Thank you.
Sorry about my impersonation of her, by the way. I do need to work on it. It's like you kind of just like, you don't want to say the words fully coming out of your mouth. You talk about the passage of time and the context. That's the best I can do. Oh, I mean her no ill will, by the way. Just want to say that. I mean her no ill will, but I just think she's deeply, deeply misguided, unfortunately. Now let's go to Keir Starmer. I'm not going to show much of what he says because it will probably bore you to death and I'll lose viewers right now.
Targets in Iran.
But I just loved what Dan Hannan said, where he said he's a lord in the House of Lords, a conservative member of the House of Lords. He said, it's not your irrelevance that is striking, it's the way that, as always, you bizarrely go out of your way to advertise it.
About what this means for security and stability, and for the fate of innocent people across the region, which for so many of us includes friends and family members. So whilst the situation is evolving very quickly, I want to set out our response. The United Kingdom played no role in they's strikes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Then I think we can stop it there if you played no role in this. Cenk Uygur. The great Cenk Uygur, who will basically try and rebut your argument, not with an actual response. He'll just repeat what you said, but in a goofy voice. He'll say, "Oh, sure, Israel's just defending itself. Oh, yeah, because Iran really wants death to Israel and death to America. Sure." That's basically the Cenk Uygur argument. Just say your argument in a silly voice. Anyway, he said here, "I criticize Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei 1,000 times. He was oppressing his own people and preventing democracy. But there's one thing you can't take away from him. He died on his own 2 feet instead of kneeling to Israel. That took courage. He didn't bow." Just unbelievable. Rabbi Daniel Rowe rightly said, "It's a good job you weren't a pundit in World War II, opining about how terrible it is that American lives are being sacrificed in Europe to protect Jews and Europeans. Because just imagine someone writing, 'I criticize the Führer 1,000 times. He was oppressing his own people and preventing democracy. But there's one thing you can't take away from him. He died on his own 2 feet instead of bowing to the Jews. That took courage. He didn't bow.'" There is no difference, by the way. No difference between the two. Anyone out there who likes to claim that Zionism, being against Zionism, is different to being against the Jews, I'm here to tell you there is no distinction anymore, my friends. There never was. Because all Zionism is about is saying the Jews have a right to live. The Jews have a right to live in their home. They have a right to defend themselves from people who want to kill them, which means they have a right to live. And if you say, "I'm not against the Jews, I'm just against their right to live in their home," you're against the Jews, my friend. You might not realize it, you might not intend that, but that is the consequence. That is the implication of what you do. And that is why, by the way, we are creating on our new subscription platform on JTV Plus a new documentary coming out soon called Zionism and Judaism, The False Separation. Right? It's going to be all about that. And that is on our new platform, JTV Plus. If you go to j-tv.plus, where we have all kinds of documentaries which you can watch, premium documentaries. We have interview content, extra bonus content, bonus interviews. We do private live streams. It's this new premium subscription. It's like a JTV Netflix for premium content that we're building. Please do check it out. It's on j-tv.plus. Highly, highly worth checking out. And we're building up new content every single day there. That's our plan, to work on giving you that premium content. It allows you to support the channel and hopefully educate you on all kinds of really, really cool content in what we think will be a really entertaining format. So do check that out. Also, as I said, if you haven't heard already, please do hit the subscribe button, the like button. Please comment, please hype our videos. All these things really, really help us to grow. Now, let us have a look at some of these more crazy reactions. Now, this is the Defense Secretary, John Healey, of the UK. And he has actually been someone that, you know, is not anti-military at all, even though he is in the Labour Party and he's more on the left. But he's sort of like, I think, from what I understand, he's much more on the centre side. But clearly, he's been told by the Labour leader, by the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, that we can't say that whose side we're picking here. And look at the knots he ends up having to tie himself in. Have a watch.
In terms then of those developments in the UK government's position, do you back what America and Israel have done? It's been condemned by the United Nations. Many countries have said it's illegal. Some of your colleagues have said it is illegal. Does the government back what they've done?
Britain played no part in the strikes on Iran. We share, however, the primary aim of all allies in the region and the US that Iran should never have a nuclear weapon.
But do you believe this action was within international law?
Well, we played no part in the strikes. We just didn't.
Oh, weak. What happened to the Britain of Churchill, of Thatcher? What happened to the Britain that stood alone against evil Nazi tyranny in Europe when all the world was silent or turned the other cheek, turned the other way? What happened to Britain? It is so upsetting, and I tell you that I think a lot of British people feel deeply ashamed of this British government.
Participate, and it is for the US to set out the legal basis of the action that it took. Our first focus.
So you don't know if it's legal. You don't have a view as to whether or not these strikes were the right thing to do and within international law.
So it's for the US to explain the legal basis they're operating
but
on.
Other countries other important allies of the UK have. So Canada, for example, Australia, for example, close allies of yours and of this country's have both said explicitly that they do back what America and Israel have done. And you're taking a different position.
So I'm here as British Defence Secretary. Our first focus and all our action is defensive. It's within international law. It's coordinated with regional allies to make sure that we can reinforce and protect not just our UK personnel and people, but UK allies, bases and partners in the region. And we share that long-term aim. We share that determination that Iran should never have a nuclear weapon.
But that's a different answer to the question of whether or not you back these dramatic, some would say audacious and courageous, some would say reckless and dangerous actions by America and Israel. Do you think it was reckless?
I would say it's reckless not to go to war. It's reckless to let Iran get a nuke, to continue to build up their stockpiles. This is the chance to stop this evil regime at its weakest moment. Oh, it's so sad. Dan Hodges wrote, the decision to attack Iran, kill its supreme leader, and introduce regime change is one of the most significant strategic geopolitical moments of the past century. It dwarfs the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan. For the British government to not even be able to express an opinion on unfolding events is an abdication of the most basic responsibility that comes with national governance. Absolutely right. Yisrael David Weiss of Neturei Karta, known for publicly embracing Iranian Holocaust denial leaders and attending Hamas funerals, will be sitting shiva in Muncie for Ayatollah Khamenei, Yamach Shemai. This is clearly a joke. Services to be conducted in Arabic. Guests asked to remove shoes and socks upon entering. Minyan needed for 5 daily prayers. Again, if people aren't clear about the whole Zionism and Judaism point, this man who waves his Palestinian flag and cozies up to the Iranian regime, he represents a tiny minority, even within the ultra-Orthodox, as some people call them, ultra-Orthodox world. The majority of ultra-Orthodox world support Israel and want Israel to thrive and to succeed, and see it as a, their lot is cast alongside all the Jews there. They might not have the same view of, Zionism and how the Israeli state should look to some other Israelis, but they are cast their lot with the rest of the Jews. These are people who are here. It is tragic to see siding with Israel's enemies because of a very twisted ideology. But be in no doubt, as we're going to reveal in our JTV Plus documentary soon, the false distinction between Zionism and Judaism is absurd. Open up a Torah. I invite you, open up a Torah and read just the first book. There's 5 books of Moses. The first book of Genesis. Then it goes on to Exodus. Genesis, God is constantly talking about his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to give them a land. He hardly talks about the laws and the mitzvah and the commandment. That comes in the book of Exodus. And then what is the book of Exodus? It is a story of the journey of a people to their promised land of Israel. That is what it's about. So the idea of the land of Israel and sovereignty for the Jews in the land of Israel having nothing to do with Judaism, nothing to do with Torah, just read the Torah and you will realize how ridiculous a proposition that is. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. Now, also another key point, Turkey. Goodness me, the worst NATO ally ever. Turkey, while working for an environment of peace, security and stability, Erdogan is saying, we are deeply saddened and concerned by the American-Israeli attacks launched against our neighbour Iran amid Netanyahu's provocations. And he said, in addition to the clear violation of Iran's sovereignty, we condemn with regret this morning's attacks that target the peace of the friendly and brotherly Iranian people. This is sick, absolutely sick. And honestly, Erdogan is showing signs of, as we can see here in this image, he is also very similar to Khamenei. He's houses Hamas, supports them. Worst NATO ally ever. Absolutely agree with that. Completely agree. A quick message before we finish. We have been lied to about the Palestinians from beginning till end.
Have a watch of the trailer for our new documentary called The Invention of the Palestinians, How a Nation Was Invented to Destroy Another. And if you want to watch the full thing, just click on the link in the video description.
The Palestinians. We have been told they are an ancient people fighting for their homeland which has been stolen from them. This narrative has fueled decades of conflict, painting Israel as an occupier of stolen land. But what if this identity is not of an ancient nation, but a modern, cynical invention? A political construct designed not to build a state, but to dismantle the Jewish one. In this JTV Plus documentary, we're going to uncover the truth behind the creation of the Palestinian identity, how it was forged in the fires of pan-Arabism, absent in historical records until strategically rebranded in the 1960s by leaders like Egyptian-born Yasser Arafat to rally global opposition against Israel. We'll trace its roots from the Ottoman era, where Palestine was a region without a distinct people, through the pre-1948 years of Arab rejectionism, before focusing on the pivotal shift of the 1960s, when Arafat declared we should now be known as Palestinians, inventing symbols like the flag to mask genocidal aims. This wasn't about self-determination, it was about exploiting refugees, suppressing true aspirations under Arab rule, and perpetuating a war to destroy Israel. Join us as we debunk the myths of an ancient Palestinian nation, expose the strategic manipulation, and reveal how this construct has hindered peace while fueling hate. Fair but firm, this is the story of an identity weaponized not for building a future, but for erasing one. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.